welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just looking at the latest AI headlines. We're taking this single, really dense 24-hour period and, well, we're treating it like a psychological case study.
That's it. It's about the mood.
Right. We want to understand how we're all, really adapting to this level of change.
And when we looked at the sources, we sort of looked past the big demos and the funding rounds. We were really focused on what you might call the plumbing of the future.
The plumbing. I like that.
Yeah, the quiet infrastructure. Who's actually running these new agents? Who's setting the rules? And I think this is the most important part. Who is already using these tools before the rule book is even written?
And the mood that came out of all that, it wasn't panic like we saw last year. And it definitely wasn't, blind celebration either. It was something else.
It was the feeling of standing right on a threshold. That's the word that kept coming up. Psychologically, it's a state of liminality.
Okay, unpack that. Liminality.
It's that uncomfortable waiting room between the old world, where AI was this kind of optional experiment, and the new world, where it's just becoming a baseline assumption.
Right.
The sources described it as the hush in a control room just before the switches are labeled while everything is already live.
Wow.
It's that silence. Everyone knows the game is changing, but no one has the new instruction manual, and that tension is everywhere.
Okay, so let's start there with that tension.
Yeah.
And the first signal is just the sheer speed of deployment. We scored it a 5 out of 5. It's coming hard and fast from the enterprise layer, especially Amazon.
And their push for agentic AI, we should really pause on that term.
Agentic AI.
Yeah, because it sounds so technical.
Ah.
But the psychological impact on, human work, it's just enormous.
It really is. We're not talking about simple chatbots anymore. They're rolling out new tools for Amazon Connect, their big contact center platform. And these agents can understand, reason, and act. That's the key phrase. They can handle really complex, multi-step tasks over the phone or in a message. They're making decisions based on company policy without a human stepping in every time.
And that's the jump, isn't it? From automation, which is just following a script, to agency, which is reasoning on your own, that fundamentally rewrites the human's job.
It's a huge leap. And it's not just them. We saw parallel moves like 12 Labs launching Marengo 3.0.
Right, which is basically turning, oceans of video and images into useful data. And they're pushing it out as a basic service on platforms like Amazon Bedrock.
So this infrastructure for AI reasoning is it's being laid down everywhere. Which brings up the big question. If the AI is doing the reasoning and the acting, what's left for the human worker?
Exactly. And that identity crisis, it's showing up all over, especially in white-collar jobs.
Yeah.
But it's not happening like a big wave of layoffs. It's subtler.
More like a creep.
It's a creep. It's this growing sense of professional displacement. The sources pointed right at the world of corporate finance, pulling from the Journal of Accountancy.
Which talked about this major role reshaping.
Precisely. The traditional CFO role. It's shifting. They're not just the keeper of the books anymore. They're becoming a strategy co-pilot for the CEO.
So more big picture thinking.
Supposedly. And meanwhile, the chief accounting officers, the controllers, they're taking on the day-to-day operational stuff, but with AI helping them. So the idea is the human value moves up the chain.
In theory, that sounds great. I mean, who wouldn't want to get rid of the tedious work and just be a strategic co-pilot?
Who wouldn't? But the reality is, it's messy. It's a really messy transition. And this raises a question for basically everyone listening. It's not just about software. It's about how it feels to have your job description rewritten by an algorithm.
Right. An algorithm you didn't hire?
Exactly. The source material talks about how job boundaries and responsibilities are just constantly sliding around. And that doesn't feel liberating. It creates this deep anxiety, this feeling of identity displacement, not clean replacement.
So you're still employed, but the thing you were best at
has been outsourced to a co-pilot you're now supposed to manage. It's like you're always trying to catch up to your own relevance.
And that anxiety, it's not just in corporate offices. It is showing up as some really risky behavior in high-stakes fields like healthcare.
Oh, absolutely. This is where we see shadow AI coming into play. And we really have to look at it as a symptom of something deeper.
Not just a tech issue.
No, it's a symptom of human burnout, of organizational exhaustion.
The sources flag these huge deployments in radiology. We're seeing tools like Siemens Healthineers, Optic AI, AI-native PCS systems.
And for anyone listening who isn't in medicine, PCS systems are the screens radiologists use to look at X-rays, MRIs, all of that.
So the AI is being plugged directly into the diagnostic workflow. Deployment is high, but the actual performance validation, It's lagging way behind.
And that gap, that's what's driving this behavior. There was this one data point that it's stunning. A survey of radiologists found that 4 in 5 of their organizations are already using unapproved shadow AI tools.
4 and 5.
4 in 5. Outside of any formal governance. And get this, fewer than 1 in 5 are strongly enforcing the rules they do have.
That's just staggering. I mean,
Yeah.
these are tools that haven't been fully vetted for patient care, and this is all happening while the FDA is literally just closing its consultation on how to regulate these things. They're playing catch-up.
But we have to reframe what shadow AI means here. It's so easy to see it as just, recklessness.
Or breaking the rules.
Right. But psychologically, it looks a lot more like human desperation. The whole system is just completely overwhelmed. The paperwork, the sheer volume of scans, the burnout. It's so bad that clinicians are reaching for tools before they're fully trusted just to survive the day.
So it's a coping mechanism.
It's absolutely a coping mechanism. We are seeing a collective anxiety where we use tools before we trust them because the alternative, the human system alone, is just collapse. It's improvisation where governance should be.
And the really wild part is that, according to a report from Network World, this desperate rush isn't even paying off everywhere. Nearly half of U.S. firms are reporting integration failures and, disappointing ROI.
Which creates this horrible, vicious cycle. Right, you're exhausted, so you grab a tool. The tool doesn't quite work. It creates more problems, and now you're even more exhausted and disappointed.
So the threshold isn't just some line the FDA draws.
No, it's the point where our coping mechanisms just aren't sustainable anymore. We are seeing the human cost of just pushing deployment without building the safety nets first.
Okay, let's pivot from that operational anxiety to the more, philosophical and cultural side of things, because this is forcing a real conversation about what we value as human creators, not just workers.
Yeah, the culture score was a 3 out of 5. It was described as fractured but self-aware.
Fractured seems right, because the signals are pointing in completely opposite directions.
They really are. On one hand, you have this very powerful philosophical resistance. The sources highlighted director James Cameron.
Right, who just came out and flatly rejected generative AI for filmmaking.
He drew a line in the sand. He's making a very public statement that human creation, with all its flaws and its emotion, is just fundamentally different from a synthetic output.
And is that just being a Luddite? Or is there something deeper?
I think we can look at it through the lens of grief. I mean, think about it. When a tool can suddenly produce something that looks like the output of a master with 30 years of experience, there is a real, profound psychological loss for that creative community.
See his reaction. It could be anger, denial.
Or maybe it's a necessary boundary setting. He's defending the value of human intention, saying the how matters just as much as the what.
But at the exact same moment, he's drawing that line.
The technology is being normalized and even ritualized everywhere else.
Exactly. The cultural split is it's so clear. You've got creators pushing back, but then you have OpenAI partnering with NORAD for the Santa tracker.
Right. They're weaving this incredibly advanced AI into a global festive tradition, a tradition that used to be all about human imagination.
At the same time, they're funding research into AI for mental health.
It's all happening at once.
Right.
The AI is a threat to art, a tool for capital, a toy for Christmas, and a potential therapist. It's being asked to be everything to everyone.
And while all that cultural chaos is happening, capital is just moving quietly, relentlessly.
The investment is still aggressive. The integration is happening deep inside the financial substrate of the world.
Yeah, we saw these huge moves. HSBC signed a multi-year deal with Mistral AI, not just for chatbots, but to weave their models throughout all of their banking operations.
And BlackRock, their Aladdin platform, which is this hugely influential trading and risk management system, is expanding onto AWS infrastructure.
When AI gets applied there, it's not a flashy product.
No, it's the analytical substrate. It's the foundation for how trillions of dollars get allocated. It's just becoming the assumed layer of competence in finance.
Which proves the point that this isn't a tech upgrade. It's a psychological shift in how we relate to reality.
Especially institutional reality.
For these huge firms, AI isn't an option anymore. It's just the cost of entry. It's the only way to manage risk at that scale.
And that contrast, the speed of that financial integration happening right next to the philosophical angst of someone like James Cameron, it shows you how fractured this threshold moment is. One group is talking about human rights and creativity.
And the other is focused purely on efficiency and risk.
And they are not talking to each other.
So if we pull back and look at this single day, We've seen the anxiety of professional identity being rewritten. We've seen the desperation driving shadow AI in hospitals. And we've seen this cultural grief over what it even means to create something. All while the actual infrastructure just keeps getting built out at full speed.
The whole experience of this transition, it doesn't feel like a series of big, shocking events anymore. It feels more like a slow, quiet reconfiguration of everything we just took for granted.
We're always reacting.
Always. Governance, labor, culture. We're all just reacting to decisions that were made months ago in cloud roadmaps and venture term sheets. We're perpetually one step behind the deployment.
Which brings us right back to that central idea, the threshold.
Yeah.
The most important questions here aren't really about the tech.
No.
They're about the conditions, the terms under which we all accept this as a permanent part of our life.
Exactly. And if you distill this entire day down to one thing, the moral and practical question that emerges is this. Who gets to define the threshold conditions?
Who decides when we've crossed the line?
Who decides? When do we as an industry or as a society say that an AI copilot is no longer just a helpful tool, but a mandatory baseline expectation of being productive? And if or when that day comes, who gets left behind?
Who can't keep up?
That's the real question. That's the threshold you, the listener, need to be thinking about right now, before we all wake up and realize the line was crossed months ago and we didn't even notice.